Howdy, Dog fans. Here we go. It's time for another edition of Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. My name is Dave Softy Cam, joined yet again by producer Alex Altman, former Husky NFL superstar Cam Cleland. And before we get going, big thanks again to our friends at the law offices of Catherine Clark. Cam, I actually saw Catherine before the game on Saturday against California, and she was fired up. Saw her in the zone. She was all ready to rock and roll. And Dog fans are all fired up now after a 59-32 win over California on Saturday afternoon. The most points scored versus Cal since they hang 66 on them back in 2016 with Jake Browning, John Ross and company. And the score wasn't even that close. This was a 52-12 game early in the third quarter before UW called off the Dogs and brought in the backups to finish this thing off. What a win by UW on Saturday.
I don't know about you and all the Husky fans and all the nation. I did not expect this at all. All of us were watching this football game going, what's going to happen? We know that Cal plays great defense. I know Justin Wilcox knows how to defend the pass as good as anybody in the country. But to see this team and how fast it started, 14 points, 5 minutes in before your offense even sets foot on the field. I know Coach Grubb and the rest of the offensive guys were chomping at the bit going, give me my stats, because they wanted it. But Dave, I didn't see it happening that quickly, but when it did open up that fast, I'm telling you, this team has something special happening on Montlake, and I wish we could describe it down to the T, but this team is just good.
Yeah, and Cam, you said it right there. 5:46 to go in the first quarter. UW's up 14-0, courtesy of a pick six from Edifawan Ulofoshio. A punt return touchdown from Romadunze, filling in for Jalen McMillan. And then you pull Michael Penix with a buck and a half to go in the third quarter. For the second straight week, number 9 is not even seeing the fourth quarter. And keep in mind, Husky fans, Washington won this game going away on Saturday, missing 2 offensive linemen, 2 players in their secondary in Devon Banks and Asa Turner. And oh, by the way, also did not have number 11, Jalen McMillan, their number 2 wide receiver, after banging up his knee against Michigan State last week in Lansing. So this was a dinged-up Husky football team that absolutely annihilated California on Saturday. And Cam, you said it right there. I'm just as surprised as you are. I thought that 21-point spread was way too high. If I were a betting man, I would have taken California in the points on Saturday, and I would have lost big time because UW's offense is an absolute machine. 43, 41, 59, 56. Romadunze just became the first Husky wide receiver ever to have 4 consecutive games of 100 yards or more, and he begins the year with 4 straight games of 100 yards or more. Michael Penix, number 1 in the nation in passing yards, number 1 in passing touchdowns. Washington, number 3 in the country in scoring offense, right behind the Ducks, by the way, and number 1 in total offense. Where does this end? It doesn't end seemingly ever. Every week is a new record-setting performance by this Husky offense, man.
You know, what's also crazy, as you mentioned, is Michael Penix is number 1 in those categories without even playing fourth quarters. And you're 4 weeks in and you're seeing that. And you're looking at a team that is the most, and this is not a guess, this is not of, well, we think they are. This is the scariest offense in the country because out of 37 possessions with the number 1s, they've scored on 24 of them. And they've done it multiple times in under 5 plays. Try defending that. Try finding a reason to defend it. So I'm looking at this right now, and we have to look at it in a realistic mindset, is that when you play good football teams, you go on the road and you play a Michigan State team, then you come home and thinking that maybe there's a little bit of a lull, right? There's going to be a lull in offense. There's not. There is not. There's not a stop in it. There's a couple hiccups. But that's going to happen with Michael Penix occasionally. But the offensive line, the pass protection this team has done, the shuffling, the injuries, and what they've had to do both offense and defensively, I'm telling you what right now, this team is doing something that's unique. And I wish we could all just point fingers and say it's one thing, but it's not. It's collective as a whole, coaching, playing, and execution.
Yeah, you think about all the top teams around the country, Cam. Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Alabama, Penn State, all of those teams would trade their quarterback situation for what Washington's got with Michael Penix in number 9. Maybe USC would rather hang on to the Heisman Trophy winner from last year. Maybe Oregon would rather have Bo Nix in their offense. I have no idea. We'll talk about them in a couple weeks. But what number 9 is doing right now is unbelievable. And he's got a shot to go down as the greatest Husky quarterback of all time because, Cam, here's the thing. He's not only leading the nation in passing yards and passing touchdowns, but he's only 18th in pass attempts. It's not like Washington's throwing the ball 65, 70 times a game to get Michael Penix these numbers. He's putting the ball down the field, and he's very efficient at the same time.
Well, they're efficient because they're chunky, and I use that terminology all the time, is their threat is depth on their plays. Big-time throws with 20-plus yards, the threat to be able to go over the top. Jalen Polk had an unbelievable game replacing Jalen McMillan. Talk about an intimidator. His catch in the end zone, 2 catches in the end zone were fantastic. And then Rome's catch with his adjustment. Like I said, during the broadcast, I thought that might have been the best catch I've ever seen in the adjustment. So yes, but also let's just throw bones out to that offensive line, the pass protection. But Dylan Johnson got loose a little bit. The running game looked good. You got a lot of guys out there. And if this Husky team finds a running game, I saw 3 tight ends out there in goal line package. You know, Ryan Grubb's like, hey, I got this in my holster. Let me throw that out there. All of that came together versus a Cal defense we were expecting to be good. And it's not like they're bad. I mean, they're going to win some football games, but the Huskies dismantled them.
Well, you mentioned it right there about what Ryan Grubb is maybe sitting on for the Oregon game in a couple weeks and maybe the Arizona game on Saturday night. Don't want to just look past Arizona because weird things happen, as you know, Cam, down there in Tucson. But we'll come back and talk about what Ryan Grubb may have left in the arsenal, focus on the defense as well, get to the Arizona matchup as well on Saturday night. Talkin Huskies continues next right here on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, welcome back to Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. Dave Softy Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman with us. And we are talking Dogs after a big win over California on Saturday, looking ahead to the Arizona game on Saturday night in Tucson. Big thanks to our friends at Nordstrom Heating and Air. Check them out on the web at nordstromheating.com. And Cam, a lot of talk about the offense on Saturday. But how about that defense, man? 11 minutes to go in the third quarter. California was squatting on 12 total points early third quarter in that game. Here's UW co-defensive coordinator Chuck Morrell talking about if he saw what he wanted to see out of the defense on Saturday.
You know, we've done a great job with it through the first couple of games, and now guys want more and more and more. And obviously changes the dynamic of the game really quickly. We can, either score ourselves or put the offense in scoring position, and I think our guys fully grasp that. And, like I said, one guy makes a play, and then all of a sudden you got, multiple guys making plays out there.
Cam, your thoughts on that defense? Starting to see a bit of a pass rush. Eddie Lofosio had his first pick ever at Washington, took it to the house. We saw a dinged-up secondary come up big on Saturday. Your take on the way the boys on the defensive side of the ball played on Saturday night?
Well, first of all, you win the toss. Then you defer. And then in the first series, Eddie Lofosio gets a pick 6, and then we get to see purple LED lights for the first time, get a little excited about that, to start like that. And then to have it was Dom Hampton. And then you had Jabbar Muhammad, the takeaways. And you hear Coach Morrell talk about the speed, about why this team is better at takeaways this year. It is about being in the right position. It's about being active, knowing your assignments, speed and change. We talked about this at the beginning of the year, how this Husky team was faster, and they were tracking with their stats about how they were more explosive in practice. They could see their miles per hour tracking and the analytic of speed. And now it's transitioning, and you could see it on defense, being in the right position, because the takeaways weren't there last year. That was the gap. The secondary and the experience, and also having a Jabbar Muhammad who can one-on-one on one side. And if you remove half a field and feel like a guy can take away their best wide receiver, now that opens up so much more in your defense to be aggressive with your linebackers, stopping the run. And I asked Coach DeBoer about making a team one-dimensional after the game. And when you go up 14-0, the defense now says, fine, you can't run the football anymore. And that's what Cal wanted to do, control the clock, run the football, shorten the football game, and take the ball out of Michael Penix's hands. And from the start, it was over because you put him down 14 points right away.
Yeah, Justin Wilcox, Cam, as you know, is not used to giving up that many points as a coordinator or the head coach at Cal. As a matter of fact, the 45 points that California gave up was the most in a half for California since the Alabama game in 1973, before you were even born, my friend. I was about maybe a month and a half old for that game 50 years ago in 73. And you mentioned the takeaways there. How about Carson Bruner blitzing up the gut, forcing a pick by Dom Hampton? I did think, though, on that ensuing series, Michael got a little bit greedy. There was some kind of outlets available for him, and he went for the home run ball on every single play on the drive. They settled for a field goal, which just goes to show you the unbelievable expectations, man, the standards that are set for this offense. If they don't score a touchdown, people like me are asking why.
Yeah, you're starting to find reasons to nitpick, and I guess no one's going to expect more than what Michael Penix, certainly what Ryan Grubb does as the offensive coordinator, and Kalen DeBoer. But if we are going to get into wars, and guys, let me just tell you this, and everyone that's listening, it's not going to be this easy the rest of the year. I know this team is really, really good, but they're going to be in these battles soon, and that's what this conference is going to show up. It's going to start this week also in Arizona on the road. But the way they execute the big play ability, that's the terrifying part about what Michael Penix can do. He can recognize it, he can make an adjustment, and then he has wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, all at the beck and call to be able to say, all right, this guy's in the right space. So if Michael can adjust that quick, and you can, hey, he is human. You can throw a couple picks. He's only got 2. It doesn't matter. It means you're being aggressive. But the way this team can score, every team that's game planning them has to think, what are we going to do? How are we going to stop this team?
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I mean, all of a sudden you're starting to get a lot of accolades thrown UW's way. Michael Penix getting a lot of Heisman love, even leading some Heisman trackers. Heck, we're seeing Rome Odunze now getting some Heisman love. We're seeing a lot of folks around the country that come out with rankings every week, putting UW number 1 in America. The AP poll, they're up to number 7. And oh, by the way, Cam, got a number 1 vote in the AP poll for the first time since 1997. Do we know anybody who played on that 97 team, Alex? Is there anybody here who was a member of that 97 team? Oh, yeah, the bald guy, because that's the last time the Huskies, Cam, got a number 1 vote, which is back when you played. That's how long ago it was.
No, it's pretty cool to be associated with that and understand that it is just a votes. And so I look at this and I go, numbers don't matter. Okay, the number next to your name is the perception of what you are. I care about winning football games. I care about one game at a time, because at the end of the season, when you're in Vegas for the Pac-12 championship, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. One step at a time. When this college football playoff committee comes out and they start voting and start saying what we think they are, that's fine. Take care of your business 1 week at a time and everything works out.
Let's talk about the injury situation when we come back. Will UW get number 11 back for the game on Saturday in Tucson? We'll shift the focus to Arizona, talk about the rest of the conference and the road ahead for UW. As Cam said, daunting. We'll get to all that next on Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, again back here on Talkin Huskies. Dave Softy, Mahler, Cam Cleland after a big win by UW over California on Saturday night. Huskies now 4-0, up to number 7 in the AP poll with a number 1 vote to their credit for the first time since 1997. But Cam, before we get ahead to Tucson and the Arizona Wildcats on Saturday, let's go back to the game that Rome Odunze had over the weekend. A punt return touchdown, an incredible catch at the end of the first half for a touchdown to put up 45 points for UW and tie a school record. Ryan Grubb, UW offensive coordinator, talking about how special number 1 is at Monday's press conference.
So just seeing him, people kind of opening their eyes a little bit to, how wide Rome's game really is, and how many different things he can do, that he's not just an ex-receiver that runs posts down the field. He's a really talented kid.
Cam, this is a guy in Rome Odunze who is now being mentioned along with Mike Penix in the Heisman conversation. He's number 2 in the country in yards. He's tied for number 3 in touchdowns. Number 1's got a chance to go down as maybe one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Husky wide receiver of all time. How about it?
He's doing something special. Remember, this is a guy that Coach DeBoer inherited, and he's developed into arguably the number 1 wide receiver in the country. He's number 2 in receiving yards at 544 in the country. He's also number 2 at yards per game at 136. And the guy isn't playing a lot in the fourth quarter. So we're looking at these numbers, and to 83-yard punt return. Who knew he had that in his holster? It's usually J-Mac back there, but because he's getting dinged up and he's going to be back very, very soon, Rome goes, I'll step in. but that catch at the end of the second quarter, it is, to me, one of the best catches I've ever seen. And what makes it so hard is the fact that it was an inside eye view for him to be able to spin and adjust and turn your shoulders back, lose the ball in the air, re-find it. And the throw was great. Don't get me wrong, Michael Penix, that throw was excellent. But the adjustment that he made and some of the catches he's made throughout this season so far, he is a surefire first-round pick, and he deserves all the credit. And he's a guy that's made this Husky offense so dangerous.
And you mentioned Jalen McMillan. Last time we saw him was the first half against the Michigan State game. Dinged up his knee a little bit, came out for the second half. No wrap, no ice, no brace on the knee, was on the bike, which was a good sign. And it sounds like this was more precautionary than anything else against California on Saturday. We'll see if he plays Saturday night in Arizona. I think the expectation, Cam, is that he will. But when he does come back, do you expect to see number one on punt returns, or does that job go back to McMillan?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think you take it out of the hands of Rome Odunze, but those are your top two guys. And I don't know if J-Mac wants to give that up also. But if you return 83 yards for a touchdown, you might want to give that guy a job a little bit and let Jalen McMillan ease back in with that injuries that he's had and just let his body get settled in. So, yeah, I think he stays back there, but that's up to the special teams coach. But that's two good guys to pick from. That's 1A and 1B to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, you're wrong. It's up to me. I'm going to make the call for you.
Say yes.
Number one stays there. You take one back to the house, and that's the rule. You get the job the next week against Arizona. So we'll see what they do, but they've got a plethora of options. The depth on this offense when it comes to skill players is insane. I mean, Cam, Jack Westover had 3 touchdowns a week ago versus Michigan State, and then has 1 catch last Saturday versus California. So the weapons that Ryan Grubb has to work with right now are absolutely ridiculous. I wonder, though, how much of the playbook is he still sitting on that we have not yet to see?
Well, every week is a little bit of different. There are a family of package of plays that they have designed. What you do is you change personnel, you change a little bit of shift and motion, which is all pre-snap. That's called, in football terminology, it's called window dressing. And if you dress it differently and move and you change the personnel, we can take 3 tight ends and run the exact same play that the 3 wide receivers do, but you do it in the red zone, make it look different. You take the backs, you take DJ out of the backfield, you move him, you get Will Nixon wide out. You see Michael Penix on the outside motion back in and then have a screen come back across to Rome Odunze for a touchdown in the red zone. So all those versatile things that they have, it's exciting to watch, and it's like a master just dialing his puppets. Go, oh, this looks really good. I'm going to design that, and then it all works.
Yeah, we saw a speed option with Mike Penix up 40 points in the third quarter, for crying out loud. Maybe giving Arizona something to worry about for this game on Saturday. All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap it up. We'll get to Arizona, the Wildcats, and the Huskies at 7 o'clock on Saturday. This is Talkin Huskies on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, welcome back. If you want to jump on the show and be a part of the ride, baby, you see the email right there on your screen, talkinhuskiesw@gmail.com. I'd like to buy a new jacket, by the way, and Cam would like to get a haircut, which is very cheap, by the way, for him. So please jump on the email, get a hold of us, be a part of the show. It's going to be a hell of a season, and we'd love to have you on board. Cam, let's first of all, before we get to Arizona on Saturday, ask Kalen DeBoer this week about that number 1 vote the Huskies got, moving up to number 7. And Kalen talked about how the Huskies have to play with a championship mindset every single game.
When you're the best at your level, there's something that's coming together in a unique and special way, and these guys are right on track because it's not just something that is developing over the course of a month or two. They're aware that we fell short a year ago when we went on the road after being 4-0. And championship teams with the right mindset, are going to prepare extra special hard to make sure that doesn't happen, the second time around.
All right, so here you go. Part of a championship mindset is winning games you're supposed to win. They had a couple games last year versus Arizona State and UCLA. that did not go their way. How much can they take those lessons on the road with them this Saturday in Tucson, Cam?
Well, it's all about the leadership and all about staying in the moment. You always got to remind yourself that these are 17-year-olds, because we have 17-year-olds to 23. So you need great leadership. You need a great mindset. You need to be understanding that 1 week at a time. And the cliche really does mean that. You can't control the media. You can't control the college football playoff people. What you can do is handle your own business on the road. It starts with going down to Arizona and finding a way to win a football game versus a good football team. In this conference, they're all hard. All road games are tough. Don't care who and what you think. So that's where it starts. And the mindset is you believe you're better than everybody. And then you have to showcase that. And don't let off the gas pedal whatsoever. And I think that's what Coach DeBoer and this group have won championships in other places. They know how to do it. And since you've been there, you can teach these young guys how to do it.
Yeah, weird things, as you know, Cam, happen in the desert in Tucson and in Tempe. This is an Arizona football team that a week ago barely got by Stanford 21-20. Jaden DeLora had a sprain, had to leave the game. Noah Fafita ended the game at quarterback for Arizona. So who knows what we'll see when it comes to quarterback for the Cats on Saturday night. But Vegas, again, making Washington a heavy favorite, 17.5-point favorite on the road in Tucson. And for Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, another challenge of keeping these guys focused all day long on the road before a night game. Ryan Grubb talked about that they have to make sure they get these guys into a routine, that they're not going out and doing stuff they shouldn't be doing before the game, because the coaches aren't going to watch the kids for 12 hours all day long. There's going to be opportunities, Cam, as you know, on the road for the players to be by themselves and with their families before kickoff on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's all about your routine and staying in the moment. Don't deviate off the path. Now they have school. They have a lot of things to think about. But this team is something different. They want to win football games and they want to dominate. And I think they understand. They've tasted it. So that means that just stay in your routine. Don't deviate off the path. And let's go get it.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, a Pac-12 conference that is just killing it right now. 4 of the top 5 teams in the country in scoring offense are in this conference, including, obviously, Washington going to Arizona on Saturday. All right, that's it for us. We'll come back next week and recap what we saw Saturday in Tucson. For Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman, my name is Dave Softy Mahler. We'll talk to you next week right here on Talkin Huskies.